Hi everyone, it's Lou Collins, and today I'd like to show you 3 different Aperture style cards. Now these are really quick and easy crafts for you to do at home, and I'm going to be using the new Shaun the Sheep products that's available exclusively from CraftStash. Now everything I'm using, including all of my tools, are going to be linked down below for you. And before we get on with the tutorial, I would love it if you could just give this video a quick thumbs up, and if you aren't already a subscriber to the CraftStash channel, please do hit the subscribe button as well. Now, as I say, I'm going to be using the Shaun the Sheep products from CraftStash throughout all 3 of the cards. This is a really fun collection of stickers, washi, paper pack as well, and we do have stamps and dies there also. So we've got a lot in here that we can be playing with. I'm mostly focusing on the papers and the stickers today to make this tutorial nice and quick for you. Don't forget, of course, if you are a CraftStash VIP member, you're going to save yourself a huge 10% on these items also, and get your priority dispatch from the warehouse and your double points too. If you want more details about becoming a CraftStash VIP member, check out all the details in the description. So this first Aperture style card is what I call a triple aperture, and it's really easy to do. You're going to need to get yourself 2 different circle sizes. They need to be quite similar. So I have chosen to use this one here, and that's cut out into my panel 3 circles. And then this one, if I just lay this on here, you'll see it's slightly smaller. Okay, we've just got a little bit of a border around, and you can do this with squares, hearts, whatever shape you want to. Just bear in mind you're going to need a long card base to fit all of these on. If you work with square card bases, you can stagger them instead across your card front. Now I started by cutting myself a panel of the lovely pattern paper from the Shaun the Sheep collection. First of all, and it's just fitting my card front with a little bit of a border. Now I cut my 3 apertures with my largest circle die first of all into my card, just measuring them so that they are central and evenly spaced. And then what I'm doing, and I've partly done this already for you, is I've laid this mat roughly where it's going to be, and then I'm just taping my single smaller die in the middle of each circle. Now it's important that you first of all cut the top layer, the larger circles, and then the smaller circles into the bottom layer afterwards. If you do it the other way around, it's going to be really difficult for you to work out where the top layer is going to be going. So for example, if I've already cut into that, and you can see there I've got my circles in the base. Let me just grab a piece of pattern paper. I'll show you. You lay your mat over the top, you've no idea where your circles need to go. So by cutting into the top layer first, your pattern paper, then using this as a guide. So like I say, place that where it needs to be, checking your border all the way around is nice and straight and even. So just pop that there. Then put your smaller die in the middle, tape that down like so. There we go. And then you can remove this, open your card up, unless you intend on cutting through both the front and the back. Run that through your die cutting machine. And then we have our triple aperture. I'll just place this mat over the top so that you can see how perfectly spaced this is. Now, as I say, you can do this with lots of different shapes, but it's a really fun card shape that you could do for absolutely any occasion. It's really nice to have little peekaboo bits coming out, so if you've got characters you can cut around, as I have here, but I'm actually going to use the entire image there, and I'm going to place these into the little windows, but do think of them as little windows with elements peeking through. So I'm going to just add some glue around the edge there, and then place my first image, which I have cut from the pattern paper pack, on there, and then I can do the same here. Now if you want to, you can cover all of this back piece up afterwards. So just move this down, you can see, got the sheep there. Shaun's just tangled up tangled up within the fairy lights there. This is looking really fun already. Now what I'm going to do for this one is I'm actually going to take a sticker instead, and I'm going to place it so that it peeks through, but when you open the card up you can still see the sticker inside, so you've still got that sentiment. Now, the easiest way to line this up is to simply take a pencil, close your card up nice and flat, and just carefully draw a pencil line around. Now, I just went up a little bit, so I'll just erase that there. And when you open your card, you can see exactly where you need your sticker to go. So if I place that down like so, that's in the center now. And then you can see it, you can peek through. We wish you a Merry Christmas. There we go. Okay, so the next card shape, this is going to be a single aperture. Now I'm working with circles for all of these. I'm giving you top tips for matting and layering and such like as I go through, but all of them can be done with other shapes as well. One of the essentials that you're going to find you need to do aperture cards is usually nesting dies, and we have a huge array under the Creative Craft products range on CraftStash. Again, we'll make sure this is all linked down below for you. So I'm going to, this time, rather than leaving a border, I'm going to just cut this panelled paper exactly the same size as my card front. So I do that by turning my card over, placing it on the pattern paper. Again, the pattern paper has come from the Shaun the Sheep collection here. And I'm just going to trim this out. You can trim it, use a trimmer, or you can use your scissors, whichever you prefer. Now, the reason I'm doing it this way is usually I would plan and I would just cut my circle into this sheet first. And then, as we saw with the triple aperture, I would then lay my die inside and I'd cut my circle for the card base. Much easier that way. I'm going to assume that, as I do sometimes, you've forgotten perhaps that you need to do it that way. You've gone ahead, you've cut the hole into your cardstock here, and then you've remembered, oh, actually, I needed to do the layer first. So let's just take the same size die. And I'm going to place this over the top with my card open. So just like so, making sure around the edge that this is sitting where it should be. So corner to corner. There we go. Now, I'm going to take my pencil again, and from the reverse, from the inside of the card, just draw around your circle there. And then what you can do is you can die cut this out using your die here. Now, it's up to you whether you want to go with the same size or if you want to go ever so slightly larger to get that border. I think I'm going to go with the same size die. So place that down, run that through my die cutting machine. So tag it. We're cutting from the back. You do get a slightly different finish when you do it this way, but it's not too different. I'm just checking underneath to make sure I've got that all lined correctly, and I'm going to run that through. Now, when you're cutting aperture cards, it's a good idea to keep all of the circles that you cut out, or whatever shape it may be, because you could always use these again. Now, this should easily fit absolutely perfectly over the hole in the card base that you've already cut previously. Now, I like to call this type of aperture a stage aperture. Now, that's completely my own name for it, and it's because I almost use the aperture as a backdrop, so I don't always place something in. Sometimes I'll put a piece of coloured cardstock behind there, but I use it as a stage, and on the front I'll put all of my elements that I want to add, so that when you open it up, it's actually a big gap behind rather than filling the aperture with something. So for this one, I'm going to use, these are elements from the sticker sheets, and what I've done is I've just stuck them onto some scrap white cardstock and cut around the edges. Now, if you were to place acetate underneath here, you can actually put the stickers directly onto the acetate, which is much quicker, but I really like to actually have the gap in there and not have the acetate in. So there we go, there's what I call a stage aperture, and that's just another way of creating an aperture card for you. Now, one last shape for you, and this one is what I call the offset aperture. Now, you're going to want to cut yourself a mat and layer for the card base first of all, and then we're going to open this up. Now, I'm going to start, as I've said before, I'm going to start with the largest of two circle nesting dies. Again, could be squares, hearts, stars, whichever. And I'm going to offset this. So I'm actually going to place it off the edge of the mat and layer. Now, I haven't glued my mat and layer down yet. I'm going to pop my tape onto there so it's over the edge. And then I'm going to cut that out. Once that's cut out, place your mat or your layer, I never know which is which, mat or layer, back where it should be, and place the smaller nesting die just inside there. So that's going to go there. We could, I think that might be a bit too small. You could go with a shaped one with a decorative edge, but I think I'm going to go with a straight one there. Just making sure everything's lined up nicely, and that's kind of central. Adhere that nesting die down to my card base, and then I'm going to, I've got two options here actually. I could cut through both of my front and the back of the card and have this really cool cutout, or I could go through one. Now I'm going to go through one layer, so I'm going to open this up and I'm actually going to feed this through my larger die cutting machine. If you only have the smaller die cutting machine and an open card base just isn't going to fit through your machine, you can always fold the back of your card over on top of your die. Only the other side will cut. You will get a little bit of an imprint of your die here, so you might want to then just mat some cardstock or paper or put an insert in to cover that over. But there's a few different options for you depending on the size machine you've got. So as you can see, that sits absolutely perfectly there. And then I've just taken one of the circular sentiments that come along with the paper pack there, and that's going to fit really nicely inside my card. So I'm leaving it as a whole circle just for the time being. I'm going to adhere this down like so. And then place this just inside. So this has also been die cut out of the paper pack using the same circle die as I did for the smaller circle in the card base, and that's just cut that out perfectly. Then just trim the edge here. So taking a quick look at the three different card styles we've used. Now if you love card making, you'll find some fabulous videos on our channel. For example, the shadow stamping technique, also techniques using embossing folders, and of course don't forget to subscribe to our channel to be kept up to date with all new videos.